Nothing in this recording is intended as investment advice, and the people in this recording may hold positions in the companies they talk about. Do not make any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to Zak's Traders Cafe. Today it is a helium special featuring Pulsar Helium. We've got the President and CEO of Pulsar here with us, Thomas Abraham James. We also have some expert guests with us, Senator Grant Hauschild, who's a state senator for northern Minnesota. And we also have a state representative, Roger Skraba, who's a representative also for North Minnesota. How are you today, gents?
Very well. Thanks for having us, Zak.
I'll start with Grant, if I may. The first question really is, people talk about Pulsar Helium's find being green. How green is helium and the play in Minnesota, and how does it help with green energy transition planning?
Well, the best part about our region where Roger and I represent is that we've had a long history of natural resources that have helped America really be a premier country in the world for production of our natural resources. And now with this find of helium, we know that it's the next frontier, and we know that the green economy is a big part of that. So not only is this helium find incredibly clean in its own right, a unique find with very little emissions involved or methane involved, but it also helps with the clean energy transition with regards to wind turbines and solar. Helium is often used in those technologies to help with efficiencies, to improve the technology. And helium is really used in a lot of things that people don't realize. And so I'm really excited to see helium join together with the other natural resources we have in northern Minnesota to help us move forward with the green transition.
Obviously, once you have this big find, as we've had earlier in the year, maybe legislation needs to catch up with that and the rules and regulations surrounding it. How much are you doing at the moment to enable that, and what kind of legislation will it be?
Yeah, that was one of the most surprising things when this find was discovered. In Minnesota, we actually have no gas frameworks or regulations or royalty structures in place. We've had a long history of timber and taconite and hopefully in the future copper nickel, but we didn't have any gas frameworks. So Roger and I got to work very early on when this discovery was made to help our Department of Natural Resources expedite a rulemaking process, put into place some temporary discovery drilling opportunities for Pulsar, and made sure that our local communities and school districts benefit from a royalty structure, because that's how you get buy-in from the local community and from the state. And I know that Pulsar is really excited about those opportunities as well. So we're getting to work on that. We passed the legislation this last year, and now the Department of Natural Resources is expediting that rulemaking process. And I think Thomas can talk a little bit about how that's going, but I know that DNR is very excited to work with the company and make sure Minnesota is a place that works for helium discovery.
Obviously, Pulsar seems to be, moving at pace. Are you sort of cognizant that you don't want to slow this production down or the development down of the asset?
That's right. Yeah, we want to make sure, of course, that we're always doing natural resource work correctly. And I think having a framework makes sure that we're doing everything right. But I think both the state of Minnesota, myself and Representative Skraba, and all the other legislators that passed this legislation understand that Pulsar is a great company doing all the right things. And now we're putting into place a framework that can help them do that and expediting it, which I think is really exciting.
And presumably both of you guys being on the call along with Tom shows how serious you are about the developing all this and taking this forward successfully.
That's right. And I think we've shown that. A lot of folks were questioning, are they going to be able to get this legislation done so quickly when this discovery happened? And we did. And, I think one thing that goes unsaid a little bit is that Representative Skraba and I are of different parties, and we represent the same region. And with all the partisanship that exists in our politics in America, it's really special that we were able to take this opportunity for our region, sort of get past the partisanship that gets in the way of a lot of success and just work together and get it done on both sides of the aisle. So I was really excited to do that work alongside Representative Skraba.
And moving on to Representative Skraba, with the recent sale of the Federal Helium Reserve and its substantial depletion, will this Minnesotan discovery replace it? How critical is that helium for the US economy, and how reliant is the US on importing helium from abroad, given the federal helium reserve move?
A great question, and I think it's exciting because our helium is anywhere from 12 to 14% of the area in question that we're trying to extract the gas from. So it's a high concentration. So we're going to have a fair amount. Where Pulsar decides to sell their helium, I have not been privy to. I know the state of Minnesota would surely like to use as much of it as we can. If they're going to be selling it on the market, we have a location in Hope. We're inviting them to develop a plan and a plant in Two Harbors, Minnesota, where there's rail, ship that goes out to the St. Lawrence Seaway, so it can go worldly, and four-lane interstate highway right to the plant area, the four-lane highway. So how much of that is going to go out into the real world, we don't know. The exciting thing about this find is most helium is that we're found is surrounded by natural gas. Ours is surrounded by CO2, carbon dioxide. The stuff that you put in beer and soda and to help clean water. So by whatever standards that we've heard so far is for every truck of helium, there'll be 7 trucks of CO2. And Minnesota is experiencing a shortage in CO2. So again, I would hope that maybe Minnesota could get some of this CO2, but we're just excited that the find was made. One of the things Senator Hauschild and you all brought up was how environmentally clean it is. It's kind of a boring sight to go and see because you drive all the way out to this spot. It takes like a half hour to drive there, and there's a pipe coming out of the ground. That's it. It's like, really? That's it? That's it. It's really clean. It's really green, kind of boring, but very exciting. Very, very exciting because we're hoping that it's not the only find. We're hoping that we find more. And the DNR, again, crossing party lines and all that good stuff. We're excited to see something in northern Minnesota, a big positive, and this is a huge positive.
Sticking with you again, Roger, it's been claimed that Pulsar can move into production as soon as December next year, 2025. What progress has been made to support Pulsar's ambition to commercially extract and move into production? Can the state move as quickly in issuing and supporting legislation as Pulsar's timeline, i.e. can Pulsar's topaz resource commercialization prospects be fully realized without a holdup?
Lies kind of the issue that Senator Hauschild brought up about permitting. We're working with the DNR. Actually, we're going to have a meeting the first week of October to see how the legislation is being crafted. We want to make sure that it's we're covering our natural resources basis so that it's clean. There were 2 groups during the passing of the legislation, environmental groups that keep an eye on what's happening in northern Minnesota. You know, they're opposed to some mining. They're opposed to some development of natural resources. We reached out to them, met with them, asked them if they could support this helium find, and to everyone's credit, they came and supported it. I sit on the Natural Resources and Environment Committee, and both groups supported the mining of the helium. So we feel like we've got synergy. We got people willing to work with us. The 25th, 2025 December. It's a pretty aggressive, but I think it can be done. Trying to get the trucks from the site to Two Harbors, the main jumping off point for distribution. We would have to identify about 4 miles of road through the woods, and I'm hoping we can work together to get that road built so that we can have basically a private road from the public to the site, and we don't have to have as many mixed uses in the woods getting the product out. I think it's very doable. We're hoping, it's an election year. I'm hoping I'm still here next year to finish the legislation. We're hoping that when the rules come from the state, both MPCA and DNR, that we can implement them and those folks can have at it and start developing the buildings they need to separate the two gases. They need power. We have an iron ore mine right next to it, about 6 miles away or so, that the power they may need, they could possibly bring it from there. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work going on now. Everyone's doing their due diligence. This is a big deal for northern Minnesota, mainly for Minnesota. The exciting part that I see is if we can develop the helium in Minnesota, helium is used in making computer chips. So perhaps with the helium being close by, we can get some chip manufacturing in northern Minnesota and get some more people up here with great educations working on projects like that. So it's exciting. I would love to see it done by December 25. I surely will work to see if it can get there. We have another organization called Iron Range Rehabilitation, IRRB board. They have the ability to help move these projects along. So hopefully we can get them involved and make sure that this timeline is met.
Moving on to Tom Abraham James, President CEO of Pulsar. First question for you. I read in Director's Talk last week that based on just 13% of your land position being researched, analysts already anticipate that at least $2.5 billion of gas could be recovered. When you deepen Jetstream 1 and expand the drill program as detailed, will this number increase?
Well, firstly, Zach, I'm very humbled with our audience today. It's fantastic to have Grant and Roger joining us, so thank you both very much. And will it increase? Yes. I mean, I've said before that it's really just, to use a bit of a cliche, but the tip of the iceberg is that I think that with our work program that we have, and we've told everyone that we're going back out to drill later this year, and the intention is just that, to increase the size of the resource, to increase the amount of contingent resource that could be turned into reserves, with a very much a keen eye on looking to realize that production potential. So look, I think that it's definitely possible. I mean, unlike a lot of other helium companies where they've gone into established areas for oil and gas, and they inherit hundreds of millions of dollars worth of seismic data and drilling data, and they can come out typically with a very big resource straight off the bat. Whereas for us, it's very different. Like, we're the first mover in Minnesota. We found this extremely high concentration, the highest in North America, and but there isn't that history of natural gas or oil. It really is this pure helium and CO2 play, and so everything that we do has a material impact on the size of the resource. Every little program we do, it increases. And we see from the seismic data in particularly, this one prospect that we're working on, there's multiple prospects there within the project. We're just working on this one, which is the Jetstream prospect. It's open to the north, it's open to the west, and it's open to the south. So look, I think that the potential is, Zach, it's really unknown, and that's what our job is at Pulsar, is to realize it and just see how big this thing is. But it's all giving us very positive indicators at this moment in time.
I mean, the potential is wide open, I think is probably my description of it, or a description I'd like to think about this project. But is it typical, you've been around the block in this in the exploration field, is it typical at this stage with what you've proven up so far that you would have 40 million Canadian dollar market cap, which is maybe a tenth or something like that of what you've already proven up?
I think from that point of view, I think that It started off when we listed this company only last year, and there we were, and particularly with Grant and Roger and everyone else in Minnesota, we were walking around saying, we think we found the most high grade helium concentration in North America. And it's like, oh, hang on, but this area hasn't got natural gas, it hasn't got oil. Is this guy a bit cuckoo, perhaps? And so there was an element of that. It's like, is it too good to be true? And so certainly that was actually something that it was challenging, to be honest. But now that we've gone through and we drilled it this year and we proved again that it exists and this wonderful supportive legislation that's there. So I think that really, I think now it's beyond any doubt that this thing's real. That it's in terms of it, once you start looking, that's when you start to really find things as well. We know that geologically this is an ideal location for high helium concentration. But the funny thing is that it's very hard to detect its surface because above the gas, you've got this impermeable cap rock that the helium can't leak through. And let's not forget, helium likes to leak through everything. I mean, that's why a week after the birthday party, all the balloons are on the floor because the helium leaks out and disappears. Whereas in Minnesota, you don't have that. So it's an impermeable cap rock, very hard to find. But then you go there underneath and, hey, presto, you've got the perfect geological conditions that I won't bore your audience with, but I assure you that they're there. And so it looks like that really this is something which is big. I mean, this is regional. We know that 160 kilometers to the south of us, we're seeing 2% helium coming out the ground. Now, that in itself is, 4 times the value that a lot of other people would dearly like to have. So it's quite an exceptional occurrence.
Just in terms of, this is probably a question that a lot of shareholders would like to ask, is Pulsar on track to complete further exploration this year as announced? And when can we expect results to be made public? What news flow can we look forward to? And can you provide any timelines?
I can. So what we're doing at the moment is we're dual listing the company on the London AIM exchange, and that process is going well. So the anticipation is that they'll be completed in the not too distant future, most likely sometime next month. With the proceeds from that, then we go off and we drill. So we already have the permits that we are required to conduct the work. So those are in hand. I also have a drill contract as well. So it's just solely a matter of hitting the green button there to go. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the well that we've already drilled, and then we're going to deepen it. So we're going to go down at least another 500 meters, and that's to go through the entirety of the reservoir. So with the original hole that we drilled, successful, wonderful, but all the data suggests to us that we've only tagged to the very top of the reservoir. So now it's to go back and go through the entire section. So as I say, about another 500 odd meters, which could have a very material impact on the productivity of that well. And then after that, the rig would immediately move off and drill a step out well. So that would be a second well, and that would be going through the entirety of the reservoir section as well. With the wells, we anticipate we'll get more or less real-time data from the drilling. So we'll know if we've hit the gas and if we hit the helium. And then afterwards, we'll then be doing the pressure buildup and the flow tests. So, that really will be a process that will probably go off until the new year, sometime in January. And then on the back of that, we'll then be going off and doing an update to the resource. So our friends at Sproul will then do the update. And then off the back of that, it will then be the all-important economic assessment. So saying, okay, how does this look for production? Can we realize that objective of ours of near-term production? And that would be helium in a pure form, and then looking at CO2 as well to sell that in a liquid form. So I think that for anybody who's keeping an eye on Pulsar or is wishing to get involved right now, there's no better time because you're probably going to get sick of hearing about us because it's going to be very thick and fast. And I'm just very excited for the people in Minnesota and all those who are, following us right now.
Just think there's one thing that is noticeable just with the first part of the interview is the enthusiasm that we've got 2 politicians who seem to know as much about your company as you do. Isn't that quite unusual?
It's wonderful. I must admit. I mean, I've never felt so welcome. You know, we made a good decision, and that was that everything we do, we'd be fully transparent. We get everyone out to site. We realize that helium's new, it's quirky, and you know, there's not much known about it. So there's so really to do that, and then for, you know, for Grant and Roger and everybody else in Minnesota to realize the opportunity that's there, and the support. It really is very humbling, and it's most welcome. And really, we work very well together. And I think that really our objectives are the same, which is to realize, you know, that there's a shortage of this vital commodity. And then also make it beneficial for the people, for the local community, that everybody benefits from this, and keeping that green footprint as well. So really, yes, Zach, I mean, I'm incredibly, I wouldn't want to work anywhere else, put it that way.
Just a final rundown, maybe from both Grant and Roger in turn. To Grant, I mean, how much difference is this going to make to Minnesota? Is it transformational to the state? Is it a big deal? Is it an okay deal? What's your line on that?
I think it just once again shows that northern Minnesota and the Iron Range are really the gem of Minnesota. We're the power engine of what has really produced the longtime history of Minnesota providing the steel for World War II, the transition to a green economy, all of the materials we need for the auto manufacturing economy in the Midwest. We are the center of the universe when it comes to natural resources. And now helium is being added to that at a level that is unseen anywhere else in the world. So once again, northern Minnesota is leading when it comes to providing the materials that we need in everyday use, from everything from chips manufacturing, solar panels and wind turbines, to rockets and space exploration. Helium is really going to provide us the future that our country and our world need, and it's produced right here in northern Minnesota. So I'm really excited about what Pulsar is doing. I'm excited that Minnesota and the work that Representative Skraba and I have done to advance this. And I'm just really excited to see the potential of what it could do for our region and our local communities and schools. So thank you so much. It's just really exciting to be a part of.
And just for you, Roger, it sounds like Pulsar will make northern Minnesota equivalent to the Silicon Valley of helium.
Indeed. And if anyone has any medical procedures they need an MRI on, you got to have the helium to make it happen. So I would love to be part of an organization that provides health and safety for people's lives to make it better. Computer chips, same thing. But is it a big deal to Minnesota? Is it ho-hum? I think it's a very big deal for my district, for our people up here, but also it's exciting because it opens doors that never would be able to be opened before. I mean, we can have chip production here. I mean, if we learn how to recycle e-waste, we could have the e-waste recycling for gold, platinum, palladium, all the stuff we need in the chips done in Minnesota with the helium. So it's exciting. Sometimes you need impetus. Sometimes you need something to get something started. Perhaps that's what this helium is. So yes, it can be a really big deal in Minnesota. And I look forward to working with all the people. I think like I said, it's exciting. Everyone, and I can say this safely, so far, everyone has been supportive of this find. And I look forward to working with anyone to keep this thing going.
Senator Hauschild, Representative Skraba, and Thomas Abraham James from Pulsar Helium. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks for having us, Zach.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you, Zach. Have a great day.